Pancakes for breakfast. This way you can also have pancakes for lunch and for dinner instead of bread. If you're a family or a person that likes to eat bread with your meals, this can be a suitable, healthier option to go along with the meal. And there are lots of different variations. We're going to do one today, and I think we'll do one or two more just to show you different ways, because sometimes I'll put fruit, sometimes nuts, sometimes even vegetables. But today we're not putting any fruits or vegetables or nuts. I have some powders here, and I also have oat flakes, the entire oat flake, compared to the milled or chopped up version, which is called minute oats or quick oats, sometimes microwavable oats. The complete oat is healthier because it has more fiber, and being less processed, it takes longer for the body to digest, meaning it takes longer for the body to convert it into sugar, which is important for overall health. So, first step is we're going to put this together in the bowl with some water, and then we have to let it sit for about 10 minutes so the water can absorb the ingredients, which will make it easier for the body to digest and use these ingredients. So here I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of oats. This is a combination of quinoa and amaranth powder. Both of these are seeds. So I'm going to put 3 of these, 3 tablespoons. This one here is maca root powder. Maca is grown in the Andes, lots of good properties. It's a root. I'm going to put less, well, okay, a tablespoon. And this one here has a lot of flavor. It's called 7 seeds flour. It's a combination of seeds. And I'm going to put about a tablespoon, excuse me. And here's the water. This is a jar of water, small jar. You can see, but I might not use all of it. The important thing with this batter is not to have too much water, because since there's no flour, no wheat flour or whole wheat flour, the batter's a bit delicate, more like a sponge cake batter. So if there's too much liquid, it won't hold together. And one of the most difficult parts of this process is the flip. When you flip it in the frying pan, if you're doing the bigger pancake, which is what I do. If you have smaller pancakes, a little bit easier to flip. So, a little bit more water. So that was this much water, not much. And it's all incorporated. You might want to see that a bit closer. So here is the consistency right now. Okay, now we'll come back in about 10 minutes and the water will have been absorbed by these ingredients, and then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients, which will be 2 eggs. The eggs are important. It increases the nutrient value, the protein. But more important, it helps hold things together. And we're going to add some salt and probably coconut oil. So 10 minutes, we'll come back and continue with the pancakes. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. You can let it soak for longer. I had the mixture covered to protect it from flies or whatever. Now it's thickened up a little bit, okay, and now we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. This is pink salt. I'm going to put just a little bit, not quite half a teaspoon. I'm going to add coconut oil with a clean spoon, a tablespoon. I'll add, and using my spatula, I'll get the excess that's stuck on the spoon. Close the lid, and the last ingredient are 2 eggs that I washed and dried. I don't normally wash and dry them, but what I do always is after I handle the eggs, I wash my hands. Because we know where eggs come from, and I don't know how well they're cleaned in between. But I'm going to wash my hands now because I have some egg on my hands. So this is the ingredients. Now you can add lots of other stuff. You can add cinnamon if you like cinnamon. You can add nutmeg. So it's almost ready. Let's get the pan heated up. There we go. Get the eggs all mixed in. And let's get the butter also heated up. This is butter from a local farm. I was lucky to find it. I'm gonna put, that's about a tablespoon. And the cows there get to graze and eat grass, which makes the products from the cows much healthier than a lot of these, what I call factory farming, where the animals are in small confined spaces and don't get to roam and live as nature intended, as I spoke about a little bit in yesterday's video. So the butter's melting. I like the butter to melt all the way. Okay, so here with my spatula again, cleaning the spoon off. And we're going to pour the batter into the frying pan. I didn't add baking soda. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The baking soda, what it will do is it'll add air to the batter when it's cooking, so it'll rise and it'll be a bit fluffier. So sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Again, that's your choice. With baking soda, many times it'll clump. So you want to make sure you break up those clumps so you don't have these little pockets of baking soda. It has a bit of a bitter flavor. Not a big deal. A lot of times when I'm making bread, I will put it through the strainer along with the flours. So now I'm going to cover it to contain the heat. And this will take about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to clean everything up and we'll come back in about 5 minutes to continue with the cooking. Okay, so about 5 minutes, I think, more or less. In the middle there was a bubble. So I used my spatula to make a hole in it so it would flatten. Now I want to show you what I think is an important part. I don't want water to be added. You can see maybe there's some condensation from the cooking process. So I will let the water drop, then I'll use a towel and I'll dry the lid so there's no water. Because water, as I said in the beginning, will make the batter a bit more fragile. So now it's time for the flip. Make sure it's not sticking. and I'll flatten it down a little bit. This is important, especially when I put something else in the batter, like the fruits and the nuts that I spoke about, to make sure it goes flat, because those little bits will block the batter from touching the frying pan, because they're higher, they're raised higher. So I'm flattening it, I'm spinning it a little bit to absorb all the butter that's on the side of the pan. And what I like to do is I like to cut it. So I'm cutting it into triangles. I cut it in half, now I'm cutting it in quarters, and I'm going to cut each quarter in half again. I like to do this because the heat gets in between the slices and it helps with the cooking process. Now you can leave it like this. Let it cook for another minute or two, but I want to show you the way I do it, because I'm going to cut it up some more, and that'll allow the heat to get to more of the sides, giving a little bit of a crust to more of the pancake, which makes it enjoyable. Now I can let the water drop because I have done the flip. As I said at the beginning portion, the flip can be difficult. I have maybe 5 times in my life missed the flip. Once I lost a whole quarter wedge of it, and it landed between the stove and the kitchen counter. And that little space is usually not so clean. So that quarter I had to throw away, which was a bummer. Because it was a really tasty pancake. So here's what I do. I'm just going to cut up into smaller pieces. They don't have to be precise. It depends on who you're making this for. Maybe they want it to be in the circular, original, normal pancake form. For me, I prefer as I explained. So here I am. And then I'm going to just toss it around, break it up. And it's almost done. So no, it doesn't look pretty like a pancake, but it'll taste the same. Maybe even better with a bit of the butter in the frying pan touching more of the pancake. And like less than a minute, it's done. And it gives me a moment to share with you some ideas I wrote down. Number one is bread. I made mention in yesterday's video about a book I've read a couple times by Dr. Mark Harmon, H-A-R-M-A-N, called Food, What the Heck Should I Eat? And he explains bread is not healthy like many people think. One slice of bread has the same effect on your body as 1 tablespoon of sugar. So imagine this is full of sugar and you eat it. That's the same effect as eating a slice of bread. Very hard to understand maybe, but that's bread because of the wheat flour, even whole wheat flour, almost the same. So if your traditional breakfast is toast, 2 pieces of toast, you can imagine, maybe, hopefully it'll ring with your awareness. 2 pieces of bread is like 2 tablespoons of sugar. That's done. Turning the heat off. There's a bit more heat inside. It'll continue to cook. Plus, if you're putting the store-bought peanut butter, which has a lot of sugar, if you're putting jam, even the homemade jam has a lot of sugar, you're putting a lot of sugar in your body for breakfast. Many people for lunch have a sandwich. I'm not going to talk about what's in the middle, but those 2 pieces of bread on the outside of the sandwich, same thing, about 2 tablespoons of sugar, similar effect on your body. We'll do soon a recipe for bread that's much healthier. Second thing I wanted to mention was you can make a bigger batch. Okay, you can perhaps when you have a day off, you know, maybe most people have weekends off. You can take 2 hours of the day and make a bigger batch. Let them cool, and you can freeze them. Much healthier than anything you're going to find from the store in the freezer section, for example. So I mean, I said 2 hours, but you're not gonna be there for 2 hours. You put the batter in and you walk away for 5-10 minutes or do whatever else it is you're doing. I'm gonna spin it, flip it a little bit more because the heat from the frying pan is still in there. And this way it'll disperse and get to other parts of the pancake. Another way to do it easier is in the oven. This kind of batch, if you make a bigger batch, you can put it in a rectangular or square or circular oven proof container and put the entire batch in the oven and walk away for an hour. Come back and cut it up into squares or however you want to do it. And if the squares are big enough, you can even cut that square in half down the middle so it opens up, and that can be used for many things, you know. It can be, there's my Canadian, you know. It can be used for breakfast. It can be used as a sandwich instead of bread. You just somehow, whatever's most convenient for you, in a freezer safe bag, put it in the freezer, take it out, especially if you cut it down the middle. You can stick it in the toaster or toaster oven, or you can lightly fry it in some butter and add whatever else you like to it. Much healthier option, and it's really easy, and it's not going to take much time. You put the 2-hour time investment on your day off, or even in the evening when you're watching your favorite TV show. Just you have to make it cool before you put it in the freezer, because if you put it in the freezer when it's warm, you're going to have condensation that's going to stay in that freezer bag, and that'll affect the product, especially if it stays in your freezer for 2 weeks or longer. Many times what I'll do, if the item hasn't cooled down enough, but I don't want to leave it out for whatever reason, maybe you have a pet, a cat, who will jump on your counter, you can leave the bag open. So put the product in the freezer bag and put it in the freezer, but leave the bag open. The product will freeze, and the next morning go and close the freezer bag. Another option, if you do it at night, is to put it in the oven to cool off. Just make sure that it can breathe. Don't put it on something like this, because the bottom won't be able to breathe. Air won't get to it. It's not breathing. Air won't get to it, and it'll be soggy. So that's a great idea. Instead of those less healthy pancakes, waffles from the freezer section of your grocery store, you can have homemade pancakes and waffles. Another idea, the last item, is now this kind of stuff, the powders, can be fairly expensive. Definitely more expensive than the wheat flour. So you can make a combination. I know a lot of people, they buy that pancake mix already assembled in a box. You can have a portion of this healthier version and a portion from the pancake box. Mix them together so you can have a bigger batch. It's more economical, less healthy, because there's going to be more sugar in the box, but still much better than the box the ingredients in the box by themselves, and still much better than that freezer stuff from the store. The waffles and the pancakes. So that's what I wanted to say. Now I'm going to once again turn off the camera, clean everything up, and I'll show you how I will serve it to myself, because it's breakfast time for me. Back in a few minutes. Alright, here's my pancake. I'm going to show you a bit closer. I've put it in a dish so you can see there are these little pieces, which is basically for me bite-sized pieces. Real convenient. So from here, many people would pour pancake syrup, but I try to avoid eating sugar or syrup. So this is extra virgin olive oil that I drizzle on top, and I'll mix it in later. And here is the chocolate nut butter that we made a couple days ago. This is one of the main reasons why I didn't add any fruit or nut to the pancake batter, because there's fruit, dried fruit, and nut already in here. So I don't need to have too much fruit or nut or seed, because I believe my body can absorb only so much. If I put too much, it's just going to go through, get wasted. So there's a balance. So here I'm putting a tablespoon heaped onto my plate, and that's my breakfast. So for you, you could do something similar. Now sometimes this is too much for me for one meal, so I'll put it in a sealable container and have it at the next meal. Or if you have a fridge, put it in the fridge, save it for later or tomorrow. Yeah, so try it. A much healthier way to eat pancakes, a much better way to start your day. Gives your body more nutrients, and much better for overall health. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.